Other opportunities, really thinking about the types of problems that we're posing, that we're asking our students to solve, thinking about the terminology behind what we're asking them. So in a particular division problem. So, understanding the different types of division problems and understanding that, there's partitive division, there's, different types of division problems and how they're phrased will lend themselves to, different use of vocabulary or different explanations. So it's being very, strategic in terms of knowing what problems I'm covering, the terminology that's behind some of the problems that I'm asking my students to solve. In this particular one, it's an early division problem. For first, second grade, students are not expected to divide just yet, but they are expected to compose and decompose numbers. And so it's really thinking about, those teachable moments where, maybe the standard is not to divide, but if I really want to understand whether or not you can break apart and build a number back up, this is a really great problem that will lend itself to that. And, there's vocabulary that's involved too. So if this were a third, fourth, fifth grade class that I was teaching this to, the vocabulary would be a little different. You have a dividend, you have a quotient, the terminology is different. For a younger group, are they using the word equally? Partition, decompose, and really thinking about the terms that we would want students to be able to use and eventually scaffold them to the terms that they will be expected. Thinking about language opportunities. So here's this word problem. My students have had an opportunity to, solve today's word problem, explain it in writing, but what other language opportunities can I provide them with? So students can then meet with the partner, discuss and negotiate the problem and possible strategies. So can they give an elaborate explanation? When we think about the mathematical practices, discourse is huge. Having students be able to explain, and articulate their strategies, being able to justify is all over those mathematical standards, so practices. So it's, if we're looking at developing language, specifically looking at DLLP, well, here's an opportunity. We're looking at discourse. What's their stamina like? Well, coherence and, in terms of their explanation, can they successfully utilize sequencing, to really explain their strategies? So there's a couple of things. The sequencing, is their explanation elaborate enough to understand? So as you can see, even through your lessons, there's a lot of language that is already being worked out. Now it's how can you use what you already do in your classrooms to have students, engage in conversations? It's how can you use that to then assess where they're at in terms of developing their language and what might you need to work on or what to help that student or groups of students become more successful.